It has been almost a year since I posted my last video because I just entered into Housemanship and I was busy preparing MRCP and handling my online tuition. Fortunately now everything is getting back on track, and therefore I decided to post this video that was supposedly to be posted last year. All the footages in this video were actually taken during my E-Housemen application, and I hope that it helps to all of my juniors, because I have a lot of my juniors asking me about some tips and tricks on how to get into the hospitals that they desire. E-Housemen application process is a really nerve-wracking experience because by just seconds, you can miss the hospital that you desire to work in for the next 2 years, and you might need to choose hospitals that are far away from your home, or you might even need to defer your housemanship intake.
Babe. What's
Hi guys, I'm Dr. Stephen Lee. In this video, I'm going to share with you some tips and tricks in applying the E-Housemanship. So let's jump into it. Tip number 1, having a good internet connection. Having a good internet connection is extremely important because it allows you to access to the website as fast as possible. Remember, in the process of E-Housemen application, speed is the key. I am not an internet expert, but based on my previous surveys on numerous blogs and Telegram groups, you need to have the lowest ping as possible for your internet connection. The best will be under 5. You can use this website to assess your internet connection speed. Personally, I did my E-Housemen in a cyber cafe called eBlue. It is at Shah Alam, about 45 minutes away from my house. I did not regret my choice because a lot of my friends and we got our first choice from that cyber cafe. It has a very good track record. I got to know about this cyber cafe from a list that I got from the pre-Housemen Telegram group. So if let's say you're not in the Klang Valley, you can still access to the group and have a look at the list of cyber cafes in your region and can see their ping as well as the track record as well. Please remember, if you are going to do at a cyber cafe, book the slots a few days before, because all those famous cyber cafes will definitely be fully booked on the day of E-Housemen application. Just in case due to any circumstances that you cannot do at a cyber cafe, for example, for now we are in a full MCO in Malaysia, you can do it at home, but just make sure that you know what are the steps that you need to follow later on. So let's proceed to the next tip. Tip number 2, always have a backup computer. Believe it or not, I have friends whose computer crashed at the most critical moment during E-Housemen selection. So I strongly recommend all of you to have a backup computer or a laptop during E-Housemen selection. For me, I actually booked 2 computers at the cyber cafe, which is a very common scenario, and I also brought my own laptop to the cyber cafe. Call me paranoid, but it is always better to be safe than sorry. And just one more tip, if you're doing it at a cyber cafe, just make sure that you arrive earlier so that you can check all the hardwares like the keyboards as well as the mouses, so that your computers don't have lousy hardwares that will actually jeopardize your selection during E-Housemen. Tip number 3, bring a companion. Bring a family member or a friend who is not applying for E-Housemanship is very important because they can calm you down at that critical moments, and they can also help to stand by on the other computer. At the moment of selecting hospitals, they can also come in handy because sometimes we tend to be so stressed out during those stressful situations, and they are the ones that normally can help us to find the hospital name as well. Tip number 4, use an Autofill extension. Having an Autofill extension is very important because you don't have to repeatedly enter the ID and the password. All you have to do is just to spam enter.
So what Steven is doing now is basically spamming.
Personally, I use Google Chrome as my browser and I downloaded the extension called Autofill. All I have to do is just to key in my ID and my password, and what I have to do next is just to spam the enter. That's it. Tip number 5. Open as many tabs as possible. In your browser, you need to open as many tabs as possible on your E-Housemen login page. It's a very common scenario that the web page will crash, especially towards the last few minutes before the E-Housemen selection. You need to calm down and open as many tabs as possible so that when one crashes, you can proceed to the next immediately. Remember, as many tabs as possible. I'm talking about more than 10 and even more than 20. Remember that. Tip number 6. Start logging in earlier. There were rare occasions in which the E-Housemen page opened earlier before the time stated. So I would suggest to start logging in even 10 minutes before the time stated, just so that you don't miss any early entry, but you don't have to spam like crazy. But if let's say it's 1 minute before the time stated, that's the time that you have to really spam your heart out. Hit that enter as fast as possible. By the way, for accurate timing, I would use the Malaysian Standard Time in the CRIM website. Tip number 7. After entering into the system. So, after you spam your heart out and you finally entered into the page, congratulations! Now is the time that you have to be really fast. There are 4 sessions that you have to fill up, so make sure that you are as fast as possible. I'm talking about seconds right now. You have to be really fast. The first session is on the personal information. In this page, most of the information is already pre-filled, but please be very careful on the phone number, because most of the phone numbers are not started with 0 and you have to type a 0 in front of them. For example, they will be showing you 121714 and you have to put a 0 in front so that it becomes like 012 or 014 or 017, because if you don't do so, you can't proceed to the next page. And the next thing that you have to click is on the number of siblings that you have, which don't include you. Alright? So otherwise, just make sure everything is filled, but for me, it's just the phone number and also the bilangan adik-beradik. Remember, you don't spend too much of time over this page, okay? At most, it's about 10 seconds, that's it, okay? At most, alright? So on your second section, it will be academic qualification before your university. So for me, it will be STPM. After that, you need to click on your tahun kelayakan as well, alright? Then click seterusnya. So here comes session number 3, which is the hospital selection page. Now, under penempatan, there are 2 options they can choose. Either you can choose the hospitals from the state or you can choose the hospitals directly. Personally, I use the state option, in which it narrows down all the hospitals in the list to the hospitals in the particular state that I chose. But some people claim that this option is a bit risky because after they click the state option, their web page just crashed. There are people who actually prefer the hospital list so that it is faster for them to choose the hospitals and they can directly select the hospital. But for me, there are too many hospitals in the list and sometimes it could be confusing and difficult to find the hospitals that you want, and therefore I choose the state list. But either way, actually is fine, alright, and it's really up to you. After you have selected your hospital, you will reach the 4th section. In the 4th section, it's a confirmation page. You need to tick the small box and click Hantar after confirming the hospital that you choose is correct. Then, congratulations, you will get a notification that states the hospital that you get. Then all you have to do is just to download the documents and do the needful. Alright guys, so that's it. These are the 7 tips which I think are extremely important in the E-Housemen process. So I hope all of you get the hospital that you desire, and do share this video if you feel it's helpful to your friends who will be selecting the hospital soon. Thank you so much. I'll see you all again in the next video.